Hey, and welcome to Meeples and Munchies, where we are going to look at creature comforts today. I'm going to set up the solo game. I'm going to do a very quick rules overview and a quick playthrough. Now let's get started with the solo setup. So to set up creature comforts for solo, you're going to need the main game board there. Next, you're going to choose a player board. In this case, I'm going to be the fox. So to set up for the solo game, you're going to need all 16 of your valley cards. You have forest and meadow version cards, giving you 8 rounds, making it a longer game. So you take your forest spring cards, shuffle those up, place them on the table. You're going to take your forest summer cards, shuffle those up, put them on top. And then finally, the fall cards go on top of there. Once you have all 8 of the cards stacked, you're going to flip the entire pile over and place it where it needs to go at the very top of your board. So I'm going to do the same thing with the meadow cards, and I'll be right back. Meadow cards go there. So you should have the top 2 areas of your board with your cards set up. So next we're going to set up our visitor cards. They have the back that looks like this. So for the solo game, you're going to remove 3 of them. You're going to remove the common loon, you're going to remove the Canada lynx, and the moose. You can see them on the screen there. Those do not come into solo play because they rely on other players. The visitor's deck is placed face down on the board. You don't flip over the first visitor until the game actually starts. In case it has an immediately section, that has to be done right away. And you can't really do that while you're setting up the game. Also, to set up for your solo play, you don't really need the worm, so this can go back into the box. I don't necessarily need this hill tile because it's just me, so I don't have to pass this around to other players. So this goes back in the box as well. So for the solo game, you're going to go through all of your improvement cards that have this back, and you're going to remove all of the duplicates. Plus, you are going to remove the herb garden, the spinning wheel, and the writing desk, both copies. So once you've removed these, you should be left with a very small stack. 12 cards. So for these cards, you're going to shuffle them up and you're going to set them on the left side of the board here, starting at the bottom and going up along each of the spaces indicated by the dice. And the extra cards can sit on top there. Next, you're going to grab your 72 comfort cards. You're going to give them a nice shuffle. And now you're going to take them and you are going to deal the top 4 cards down here. So I'm going to put the extra cards around there on the board or near the board. Next, you want to grab the river dial and randomly, choose a side to be on the spot here. You want to make sure that it's lined up nice and straight so that the values of the dice correspond to the resources shown on the board. So just as a little bonus tip, I put all of the multiplayer components that aren't used in the solo game in a little bag. And this gets put in the box so that I don't even have to look at those when I'm setting up for solo play. Now, I'm going to grab my fox character. I'm also going to grab my 4 fox little houses to put on my player board. I'm going to also grab my 2 fox dice, so the red dice. And we cannot forget the 4 village dice. Those go on the hill space there of the board. So because this game has many resources, I like to have 2 different piles. And this is the setup for a solo game. So Creature Comforts is played over 8 rounds for the long game, and each round consists of 5 phases. Before the game actually starts, you're going to draw 3 comfort cards. You're going to look at them and then discard 1 of them. The first thing you do in each round is you're going to reveal a new visitor. And in this case, we have the striped skunk. Second thing you do is you're going to roll your family dice. Now this gives you a little bit of an insight as to what you will have available during the following phases. The next phase you have is placing your workers or your little animeeples. And I have a 2 and a 6 in my family dice, so I'm going to see where I can best place these in order to use those the best. So I got the piggy bank, I got the flute, which is also here on the board, and my last one are the snowshoes. So I'm actually going to discard the flute because it's already here on the board. So the next phase, whoops, you grab the village dice and you roll them. You don't alter their values. You're going to grab your 2 family dice and add them there. So here I have 1, a 2, a 4, a 5, and 2 6s. I'm going to place my 1 and 4 on here because it needs to be a total of 5 or lower. I'm going to take my 2 and place it here so that I can get those 2 stones. My next dice is going to go here. I'm going to put one of the 6 dice here. It lets me choose any one of these 6 cards, and then I have 2 dice left over. It doesn't matter which dice goes here, so I'm going to place that one there, and I have an extra dice. That's just going to ignore that for the rest of the turn. Now comes the next phase of the round, and here after we've assigned all our dice, we actually visit each location and use the dice. So up here, I need a total of 5 or lower. I have that, so I gain 2 logs and 2 mushrooms. So I'm going to take 2 logs from the supply and 2 mushrooms from the supply. So my worker comes back. Next, I'm going to visit this location here, and I have a 2, which matches the value there, so I gain 2 pebbles or 2 rocks. Those go into my supply. I take my worker back and my family dice back. Going here, I get to choose any one of these comforts. So my first choice is going to be the bookshelf. So that gets added to my hand. My worker comes back. And then finally, I get to buy one of these upgrades. Because I placed a 6 there, I can choose any of them. The one I am going to choose is the orchard. Now, in order to build this, I need to pay 2 wood and 1 rock. So I'm going to send 2 wood and 1 rock back to the supply. And now I have built this card. I'm going to place it right there. And now my worker and my dice return. And because I did something on each of these 2 locations before the end of the round's upkeep, I need to refresh. So everything gets slid to the left. This card goes there. All of these get slid down 1 spot. And this card goes there. So now that we are at the end of the first round, I am going to do the upkeep. So the upkeep is basically you return all of the village dice to the hill. You are going to discard the top 2 of these. You are going to remove the leftmost comfort card, discard that, slide these all down, and replace the missing card. Same thing with these. You're going to discard 1, slide all of these down, and you are going to replace the one at the top. One more thing, you are going to rotate this dial 1 space. So now the values associated with the resources is slightly different. And that is it. Now, I have these cards in my hand here. I cannot build any of these yet. So I kind of skipped over the building or the fulfilling of the comfort cards. But once you have the resources, that happens right before the upkeep phase. All right, and this repeats until all of these piles are empty. Hopefully by then you've got more cards here. You have more comforts built. And that is basically the game. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more videos from Meeples and Munchies. My name is Phil. Stay safe and be kind.